and welcome back to Wisdom in Action, the podcast where we explore what it takes to bridge the gap between knowing and doing, because that's where the real wisdom is born. I'm Ostra Putninja, resilience coach and podcast strategist, and I created this space to have honest conversations with real experts and bring you practical insights you can apply, not just think about. Today, we are joined by James Hughes, a social psychologist, coach, and author with over 20 years of experience in trauma, resilience, and mental health education. As a social psychologist and author, James' passionate about commitment to mental well-being shines through in his specialized work on trauma, resilience, and power of self-care. Oh, self-care is a big one. James, welcome to Wisdom in Action.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. So to start off, as we are on wisdom topic, what's one piece of wisdom that changed everything once you started applying it?
One piece of wisdom that changed everything when I started applying it. Yes, probably that I can learn to observe and understand my past without reliving it. Which is for someone, especially, if you have a mental illness, a mental health condition, is easier said than done, obviously. That's one of the the difficulties of dealing with things like that, dealing with issues like that, because you feel in your body and in your mind like it's now. When you're talking about past trauma, it feels now. So that it's very difficult, but it's a very important milestone when you get to the point where you can say, let me observe this and learn from it, and then start applying that.
What helped you to do that? Because it is especially I think with trauma, it is a big challenge when you go through triggers, which really, that's pretty much what trigger is. It feels like what happened then is happening now and your body reacts to that. What helped you to get from that place where you were living it to now you can actually observe it?
One of the, probably I won't even say one of the, I would say the most potent aspects of my growth and healing was when I started learning to journal. And not just, your Dear Diary kind of thing, like, okay, Dear Diary, today's Tuesday, the 15th, blah, blah, blah. Journaling to the point of directed writing that has to do with your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Okay, so when I am depressed, what am I thinking in those moments, in those days? What literally, what am I thinking? Let me write it down. What does it feel like? Like, oh, I had a depressive episode last week. It lasted 3 days. Here's what happened the day before it started, which is important. You mentioned triggers. Here's the self-talk I experienced during that time. What were thoughts going on in my head? Oh, this will never end. It's always going to be like this. Literally just taking notes of what you thought and felt. How did you feel? Oh, I wanted to go to the gym, or I wanted to go for a walk, but man, I had 0 on a scale of 1 to 10. I had -20 energy level, all those things. Learning to take notes, learning to become a student of yourself. You almost have to be your own therapist in a sense. So learning that tool, to use that tool effectively, was the strongest thing in my life that started leading to very significant amounts of healing.
With the question I had was about because I think one thing that can come a lot with journaling is awareness, because in some ways it helps you. One is to get it out, but also you get it out where it's kind of slowed down as you're writing it, so you actually can observe it. With that awareness, how to, do you have any advice when it comes to, I think a lot of times it might initially be that we want to go to judgment instead of compassion, curiosity, trying to understand, but we just can jump to judgment.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any advice on how to approach it when you actually become aware of it? You start to see it and you might want to be judgmental or kind of negative towards yourself based on what you become aware of.
Sure, sure, absolutely. I understand what you're saying. In terms of if you are journaling and writing about your experience, whatever that is, um, the tendency to want to now, try to find something in there, try to immediately come to an understanding. So the first step is just write what you're thinking. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to decode it. You're not trying to make any type of judgment. You're just writing.
Uh,
If it's if it's a very emotional time, like and this could be anything. It doesn't have to be, a mental health issue, depression or PTSD or anxiety. It could be grief. Someone passed away. You lost something important in your life, like your job or whatever, and it's just very emotional. And you're just writing, and it's just like, oh God, I mean, it's almost wearing you out, tiring you mentally just to write. Take a break. Say, okay, I'm going to go wash the dishes. I'm going to go do laundry. I'm going to go do something mundane for 5 or 10 minutes, and then come back and start over. Getting it out, getting that emotion out by writing it helps decrease it. The
mm,
same as physical activity. If you're having strong emotions and you go for a brisk 30-minute walk 15 minutes one direction, turn around and come back, it lowers it. It helps your body's immunity system, helps your body's neurological system to kind of calm down, reduce those hormones. Same thing with the journaling. If it's extremely emotional, take a break, come back, start again. Okay, what was I writing? Oh, da 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 da. It will be less. The severity will be less. You'll be surprised, actually. Um, I used to teach a class on writing for well-being, and which this was the point of it, was therapeutic writing.
mm.
And now I use it with clients individually. But there's one exercise where we call it a brain dump, where we set a timer. You've got 2 minutes, just write. I don't care what you write. If you write 500 times, just write for 2. You got 2 minutes. Go. Boom, 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 boom. We stop, take a 10-second, 15-second break. We do it again. Usually by the second, sometimes the third, but normally the second round, clarity. It's
Oh.
amazing because your brain, you have to kind of, your emotions are usually on top. So you kind of have to get those out of the way first. And you do that, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait, now I can see clearly what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what's the circumstances. So, yeah, so either taking a break or repetition. One of those two should break that cycle and get you to a point to where you want to be and where it's effective for you.
It sounds like you know a lot about journaling. And with that, the question I would have is, do you have any practical tips or advice for people when they start their like journaling practice, or any myths that might be out there about what journaling isn't?
Yeah, practically, it's actually it's probably the easiest thing other than walking, like I mentioned. It's probably the number two easiest thing that you can do because it's cheap, almost free. I mean, you can go buy a notebook. It doesn't have to be anything special. You do not have to buy a, you know, 30, 40, $50 journal for this, journal for that. You can, if you're able to, that's fine. Um, but you don't have to. You can buy something, get your favorite pen, whatever. Practically, uh, just schedule a time to do it regularly. When are you going to do this? Just do it regularly. And you absolutely will come into, what you hear being called writer's block, where like by the third or fourth time, you're like, I don't know what to write now. Okay, then use a prompt. You can
Mm,
go online and search journal prompts for success, business success, journal prompts for emotional healing, for whatever. Whatever your focus is, just Google that. You can find 150 prompts. Just pick 4 or 5 and write them down in your notebook. And the next day that you're journaling, just use one of those. Then afterwards, you do a prompt, and it may be like, oh, the prompt is remember a time when you were a child. What's one of the happiest experiences that you had that you remember? And you write that. When you finish, and set a time for yourself. This isn't endless. You're not writing a novel. This is for emotional regulation for the most part. Set a timer. Say, I'm going to write for 10 minutes. Uh, when you finish, just take a quick second and do 1 or 2 sentences and say, here's what I got out of this. Or did I get anything out of this? That's where that, going back to that, becoming a student of yourself starts coming into play. You you learn to observe, and once you learn to observe, then you can start understanding why certain changes can or need to be made. So, if you're struggling with a mental illness issue, and let's say it's anxiety, and I say, oh, you just need to exercise. Okay, well, that sounds good and all, and I did that one day, and I'm still got anxiety. But if you start observing and say, okay, what did I feel before I did that? What was it like? Was the intensity at 9? I exercised, I went for a walk, I went to the gym, whatever. I came back that afternoon, I was a little bit tired. The next day, my intensity was a 5. So use journaling practically to observe. And that's where you start getting that understanding of like, oh, okay, or here's how I can change. This helped. I did this and it didn't help. I did this and it did help. So that's where that practicality comes in.
it's something that I find really interesting how much wisdom we actually and answers we actually have within us. We just don't really give ourselves space or time to connect with it or listen to it or trust it.
Yes.
And I think journaling definitely is a really good way to do that. Even by purely just writing it down. A lot of times that's how I do thinking. Or if there's something that I literally found when I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. That's pretty much when I got into like self-development, psychology, like that whole thing, which like most
Uh,
people who get into psychology, it's like, how do I fix myself? That's how it
exactly.
starts. And
Amen.
I remember I would write down like, I would have this one specific situation and I would be like, why did I do it? And then I'm just like doing like some brainstorming and I just like write different things that come to me and I'm trying to just put out anything that comes to me or trying to like understand it. And that's partly why I talked or like asked about the judgment versus curiosity, because initially when I would do that, I would judge anything that I would see. Oh, I'm doing it and I wouldn't like it and I would beat myself up about it.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm more so like, I wonder why am I doing it? Like
Uh-huh.
just being curious about it. And also what you said about being like studying myself and also not, which I think is hard for us to do, not to assume that we actually know ourselves.
Uh, yes. Yes, we would I mean that's just human nature. We think, well, I'm me. Of course I know me. But yes and no, but there's so many things competing for our thoughts and feelings. Um, we have, the subconscious or the unconscious brain who has really only 2 goals in mind, and those goals often contradict our conscious thoughts and desires. So unconsciously, the human mind is number one is survival. So, if you had a traumatic experience that really affected you negatively, whatever that might be. Let's just say, I used to work in a domestic violence and sexual assault center. So, we dealt with serious, heavy topics. So let's say someone was in a place with a certain person and there was a sexual assault involved. It may have been 10 years ago, but now they go back into this same place and there's a trigger. They start having a physical feeling and they don't understand why. What I want and need to go to this place, but when I go to this place, I feel anxious. I feel, well, it's probably because of what happened was in that place or a similar place. So your brain is unconsciously, subconsciously trying to say, this place is dangerous. You don't need to go here. Let's get the hell out. But consciously, you're like, well, I want and need. So there's a part that if we don't take the time to think, to be curious, like you said, to ask questions about ourselves and our reactions, there's a part of us that we don't know because it's not on the conscious level. Um, so, and to your point, in terms of like when you started, you had kind of this, you know, judgment type um, thought pattern, and later it turns into curiosity. That's growth. That's just normal growth. It's like anything else. And I think and I've been in different fields dealing with mental health issues, treatment, whatnot. I think that's a shortcoming of where we're at, or where we've gotten to in mental health care. We don't take quite enough time to emphasize that growth takes time. We're in a world where I have a headache, I go take a pill, within 30 minutes at least, if not sooner, it's gone. I have I have depression, I take a pill. Okay, once the period comes where it takes effect, I don't have those same symptoms anymore. It doesn't mean it's gone. I just don't have the symptoms. And so we want instant gratification. So we have to understand, we have to look at ourselves and the experiences we go through in life as a growth process instead of just, okay, let me do this one thing and it's going to change or fix it. So what you describe your experience is normal. It's great. That's what it should be. There should be some growth and change to it.
The question I have with that is because I can see that patience and time play a big role in it. What do you say to somebody who is in the moment or in the situation where they want to be out of it yesterday, but they still have to go through that process? And it's not what you see online that it's, oh, I was here, now I'm there, and everything is great. It's like it
Uh,
takes a while to actually go through
yes.
that whole thing. A lot of times online, we kind of want to skip through it or skip over and just say like, oh, I'm on the other end.
Yeah.
What you said, somebody who's actually going through that, and even if you know that, okay, time is part of the equation,
Mhm.
but emotionally, if you think about, I will have to feel like this or go through this and face
Mhm.
this, you feel so overwhelmed. And is there anything you could say to somebody in that position?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, you are okay and normal to be feeling and experiencing what's in the moment right now. Whether it's something from trauma, whether it's a mental health issue, whatever, um, your thoughts and feelings are normal. Anybody going through a rough time, or dealing with a tough issue, um, should and would experience that. That's part of the human condition. So don't think that, like you mentioned, the things you see online where it's, oh yeah, I did affirmations for a week and now I'm like, a multimillionaire and have perfect life. That's that's show. That's make believe. Um, another thing to think about is you are stronger than you think you are. We talk about building resilience, and that's one of my, you know, focuses. I love helping people build resilience. Um, but you already have resilience because you're here right now, correct? So we're talking about what you're thinking and feeling about something in the past. So you already have resilience. You just need to keep on going. And that's the key. Keep on going. Think of one of my favorite analogies is um, my grandparents had a farm. So when I was growing up, you know, we had to work on the farm, which I hated. It sucked. I was like, you know, 10, 11, 12. I was in love with technology. I wanted to go play video games. I wanted to do this and that. And I had to go out and take food to a pig. I had to go out and dig dirt and, uh, you know, go get eggs from chickens and go pick vegetables. It sucked. I hated it. Um, but as I've grown up, I've understood the analogy of life, and that is growth and cycles. Your life is just like the seasons. There will always be winter. Right after winter is spring, and right after spring is summer, and then fall. You will your life will always have cycles. Some are big, some are small, but if you're in winter time right now, you hang in there. You hang in there and do the best you can to keep warm and eat the bare minimum, you know, the basics, until it changes. That time will come when it will change. The sun will start coming up, flowers will start blooming. Then you will be able to be active in an entirely new growth cycle. So just remember, winter's here, but it doesn't stay forever. This isn't Game of Thrones. You know, your spring and summer are coming. Hang in there.
Okay, so resilience. Love the topic.
Uh-huh.
How would you define it?
Resilience is the ability to continue and grow after a traumatic event.
Mm. Do you have any advice on building it? Because I think it's actually with what you said earlier, I can really connect with that because that's what I'm trying to do with the Chase the Impossible podcast is help younger generation, pretty much like my generation and younger, to build those skills of like resilience, discipline, social skills, and especially with knowing that a lot of us we grew up in instant gratification environment. If you want to
Uh-huh.
watch a movie, you don't have to go to cinema and see what's on. You
Yep.
just turn it on and watch whatever you want. And
Yep.
same thing with all the delivery, everything like you get everything instantly, but it's not the case with like growing, healing, and building character and building anything really in life.
Uh-huh.
Um, and a lot of it does require resilience and grit because you will be challenged, you will be pushed, and it won't be comfortable for the most part.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any advice on like building resilience or where to start?
Sure. So resilience is something that we're taught in childhood. Um, and it's funny to me, and this was one of the things that interested me during my education, during studying, was, you know, why some people were resilient or seemed to be resilient and others weren't. And some of it's a mystery, to be honest. You know, you have people over here, people over there, and psychological theory, evolutionary theory, sociology, you name it, that try to figure this out, try to explain it. And there really isn't a 100%, you know, factual answer to this. Why do some have it, some do not? But we do know for a fact that, you know, the ways, the way we're raised in childhood has a great impact on it. So if, for instance, and this kind of speaks to parents a little bit, Let's say you have a child and you're playing games, and you always arrange it to where your child wins the game because you want to give them self-esteem. You want them to feel good about themselves. Yeah, but what you're doing is destroying their resilience. So the first time something goes wrong, they're going to have a problem. It's going to be a tantrum. It's going to be a meltdown. It's going to be later in life. It's going to be self-deprecation. It's going to be toxic relationships. So teaching resilience is helping a person or child, in this sense, if you're a parent, helping them to see and grow from all of life's experiences,
Mm.
not just the good, but also the bad. There's, you know, and some of that's objective, some of it's interpretation. Um, you know, so if you have, if you're at a point, you're a teenager, you're a young adult, you're adult, whatever, and you're wanting to build resilience, you kind of have to become your own parent because that's where you should have gotten it in the first place. And if you didn't get it enough or didn't get it in a way that's useful to you now, and let's be honest, your life may have completely changed since then. So it may not 100% be based on that. But you have to kind of be your own parent. And that goes to the self-talk where you are like, yeah, this sucks. Damn, this is not good, but I'm going to be okay. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to find a way to make this work. I'm going to find a way to get through this. Um, Situations are going to change. Uh, like I go back to the seasons, the 4 seasons. It's a winter time right now, but eventually winter will be over and I'll get back to spring or summer. So you have to, and it's not fair. I understand that it's not fair. I didn't get that as a child. So that's something I had to learn as an adult. And it wasn't until years and years into adulthood where I started, kind of hearing this concept and learning and understanding and applying it. Um, and that's one of the things I think that's important. And like with your podcast here, with being able to reach people and say, look, here's some of the lessons I didn't get, but I've learned the hard way, so to speak. So take note and start applying them. But that becoming your own parent aspect of self-encouragement, self-teaching, just pretend like it's another person almost. Okay, well, here's what you need to do to get through this.
It's actually something that I even like touching on journaling a bit. Um, I read this approach where you pretty much like ask questions to yourself, or like you visualize like older, wiser version of you,
Uh-huh.
and then you just answer with the other hand, and you just have
Oh,
conversation with yourself. And for me, like the several times that I have done it, it's so interesting. It asks so good questions. I'm like, wow, this is a good question. I'm sitting and I'm introspecting and I'm getting some answers. In reality, it's just like me writing with myself. But there is
uh-huh.
something in that, even like with the resilience. It's something that I heard. I think it was like Andy Frisell, entrepreneur. He was talking about it. How when he was learning to play guitar,
Uh-huh.
he was impatient with it,
Uh-huh.
and he would ask his teacher like, how do I get like, or teacher would say like, you need to be more patient. It's a skill. It takes time to build it. And he would ask like, well, how do I get more patience? Well, you need to do things that require patience.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's exactly the same with any trait that we want to build, including resilience. And
Uh-huh.
and it's hard to build resilience if you don't do anything hard, or
Yes.
you don't do anything that is challenging. Well, not whether, but ideally it would be intentional, because at some point life will challenge us whether we want it or not. It's
Sure.
inevitable.
Uh-huh.
But it's like everything, at least what I have experienced so far, I feel like it's a skill. And I have, like, for me, a lot of what I do, even like I do endurance races and things like I do winter swims, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the reasons why I do it is to train my mental muscle and to actually practice it. Because like
Uh-huh.
every time when I get in the cold water, it doesn't feel good. It's not like, oh, I love it, I want to do it. I feel great afterwards. But as I'm going through it, as I'm in that workout, or I'm like in a
Uh-huh.
long cycling session, or whatever might be the case, or I have to show up for the workout that it's already like, I don't know how many workouts in, and I still have to do it. And then I have work, and then I have this, and there's so many things that you have to do. That's when a lot of times I remind myself, like, this is where you actually build it. Like you're
Yes.
right now in the middle of it, of building it. And that's something that I think gets missed out in this like online space. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's not supposed to feel good a lot of times
Yeah,
when you build
exactly.
those traits, or when you build yourself, because it's not easy. It
No.
it it builds you, and you become much better version of you. But that process, it doesn't feel good. It looks messy a lot of times. It's
Yes.
frustrating. You have no clarity a lot of the times. You're overwhelmed. You want to quit. You're questioning everything. Like, and
Uh-huh.
that's okay. And I think that's
Exactly.
like, do you have any, well, one is like, is that something that you have seen in your experience? Is like when it comes to the growth or building certain skills, you have to do things that require those skills. Um, but also within the resilience specifically, is there some like practical things or simple things that somebody listening can do to slowly start practicing it or building it?
Yes. Um, and I love that you do those things, and that you talk about doing those things and talk about the reality of that experience. For one, you can keep the cold water, jumping into cold water. I'm not doing that. So more more power to you.
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't
I
like
tell
it.
people. Like, you have to find what works for you as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. Um, and so, but yes, finding something to learn will help you build resilience
Mm.
physically, mentally, whatever. Finding something to learn and having a goalpost. So a lot of people, we say, oh, a lot of successful people, blah blah blah. Well, a lot of successful people are successful because they are open to learning and growth. And they set goalposts and they go for it. And they accept failure. They accept that the
Mm.
process is messy. They accept that the process is full of, headaches and fatigue and just, okay, yeah, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore, yada, yada. And we need to apply that to our emotional well-being and healing as well. It's the same. It's not different. You're getting your body into shape, working out, getting healthy, learning to eat better. Uh, that's the same. It's the same process. It takes time, it takes effort. But if you can, like you said, already know before you go into it that, okay, I'm going to have points where I don't want to do this anymore. This
A
is
lot
not
of those.
supposed to look nice. Um, there's several painters, historical painters, and I can't really think of a lot right now. But if you see people that are painters, like 25% or even 50% of the way through the process, their painting still looks like crap. You're like, this is horrible. What the heck is this? But then you see the finished product and you're like, whoa, wow, how did they do that? That is awesome. You know, um, and the same with, like, if you're doing a triathlon, if you're doing the winter swims or whatever, the training process is tough. The training process is messy. But when you reach that goal, when you reach that finish point, you're like, oh, wow, now it all makes sense. Now I see why I had to do X, Y, and Z in order to get to this level of accomplishment. And it's the same with mental health. You, for one, you have to understand that if you're alive and breathing, you're always going to be dealing with issues. There's always going to be good and bad, happy, sad. That's life. That's part of it. So learning to appreciate that and learning to accept that will help you. And when you talk about getting to goal points, setting, starting slow, starting slow is a big deal. Just like we go back to journaling. Okay, so if journaling is going to be the tool that you use and is effective for you, start with slow progress. Say, okay, I'm starting this month. On the weekends, I'm going to write. So I have free time on Saturday or Sunday. So here's on 30 minutes on Sunday morning. I'm going to get up and I'm going to write. I'm going to have some coffee or some orange juice, whatever, and I'm going to write for 30 minutes on Sundays. Start slow. Then once you build that habit, then you can say, oh, wow, I enjoy that so much. I find that I want to write more. So next month, okay, now I'm going to write during the week, those kind of things. So yeah, accepting that messiness, accepting that struggle is a normal part of the process. It does not mean you're defeated. It does not mean you're weak. It does not mean that you're not making progress. And then having a goalpost and just blindly, mindlessly, emotionlessly go for that goalpost and just go do it. Just keep going till you get there, and wait till after you get to that goalpost to make a judgment about it.
With the normal part of the process, I also wanted to touch on losing and failing because I think that's another thing that not many people share how many times they failed until they got to that success story,
Uh-huh.
or how many failed businesses, failed attempts, like that
Yeah.
that whole thing. And I think a lot of us we have this, and I have seen it a lot with myself, this like negative relationship with the failure or with the loss, instead of looking at it, it's a part of the process. It's
Yes,
inevitable. It will be there. And at the very least, it's some of the best places to actually learn.
it is. And I cannot stand that you brought this up because I hate failure. I hate it. I hate
Trust me,
it.
you're not alone in it.
I hate it. However, I still hate it even after years and years of growth and healing. I still hate it. However, I have learned that one of the reasons I hate it is because growing up, I experienced psychological abuse, which tore me down as a human being to where I grew up thinking I was worthless, that I could not do anything right. Couldn't do anything right. When I was in the younger grades, we called it grammar school, in the South, elementary school, whatever. I want to say probably like maybe fifth or sixth grade. Um, I loved art. I was a good artist for that age. Um, and we had a contest one time where we were drawing something in space. So I did this watercolor painting of space, and it had stars and planets, and it had like this spacecraft going to explore, you know. Well, anyways, so it was chosen. I won for my school, not just my class, but my school. That painting was actually taken to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. to be on display for NASA's for some anniversary. I don't remember what
Wow.
it was. I don't if it was 50 years, 100, I don't know. I don't remember. It was taken to the Smithsonian for a month. And
Wow.
I lived in a little nowhere country ass town in the middle of South Carolina that nobody, even the neighbors, could point out on a map. So that was kind of a big deal. So when I got home and I told my family about this, the response was, one, I was exaggerating or
Mm,
lying. Two, it doesn't matter. It's just a picture. So there was this huge milestone that could have been celebrated, at least acknowledged, and it was just like, You're not that good. You're exaggerating. You're like this, whatever. That's ridiculous. You're making this up, or anyways. So I understand. I get it. I grew up, you know, with that. Um, so it can be very difficult to overcome those things. And you kind of going back to the parenting yourself thing, you have to become your own encouragement, in the things that you want to see in life. And failing, this is where also becoming a student of history will help you. Even if you hate history, find some aspect of it. If you're into art, if that's what your desire and passion is, drawing, painting, then read or listen about famous artists. I promise you, the most famous artists you can find had 1,000 failures and 1,000 unwanted and unsold paintings and drawings before they ever had one that was famous. I read a book years and years ago, and it was about business success and for entrepreneurs. And it had a story, and it's always stuck with me. Have you ever eaten at KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken? It's a restaurant, right? It's all over the world. It started in the US, it's in South America, it's in Europe, everywhere. So the guy that started it, you'll see a lot of the advertisements and things like his pictures, an old guy with the gray beard and the white outfit and stuff. His name was Colonel Sanders. That was his kind of stage name, I guess you want to call it, his marketing name. He started and failed at over 30 businesses before, like later in life, much later, he came across this this recipe, and started the business. And of course, like I said, it's all around the world. Pretty much every country has KFC. But that goes to that failure. He the the difference between a failure and success is not giving up. And again, it's the same principle in any aspect of life, even if it's mental health. You just don't give up. You just keep going. Failure is part of the process, like you said. It's a way you learn, because you can try something and say, yeah, I tried that. It sucked. I didn't like it. It didn't help me. Okay. So now you know to mark that off the list. Now you know that's not the thing for you. So you can go on and find the next thing that does work for you, that is helpful for you. I, I tell clients this all the time, and in my book series on managing mental health, I point this out in terms of um, helping people know when and how to find therapy. And one of the keys is you may talk to two or three different therapists and not feel right. It's just not the right vibe. It's, well, this person is a little too direct for me, or this person's a little too soft for me. I need someone that's a little, more straight to the point. That you don't have to go to the first person you talk to. You go until you find the right one, the one that works for you, the one that's actually going to give you what you need. And that's the point of failure. It's not that you're a loser. It's not that you can't do anything right. It's often not about you at all. It's about weeding out. It's about doing away with what doesn't work to find what does work.
yeah, it's like as long as you don't give up, you can't lose or fail.
Uh-huh.
You just keep going, you keep trying, you adjust, you pivot,
Uh-huh.
and soon enough, you will get to that result, whatever is the result that you want to get.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Uh, Before I ask you the last question, where can people learn about you, connect with you?
Um, My link is it's beacons.ai backslash managing underscore mental underscore health.
Okay. We'll
So
have the link in show notes as well.
yes, thank you. I know it's a mouthful. I'm using that because of the books, but it's got my bio there. It's got how to communicate with me if you just have a request or question. Yeah, if you're interested in individual coaching, you can find all that there, plus the links to the books. The four
Tell
I've got.
about the books a bit.
Yeah. So it's Managing Mental Health series I'm writing. The first four are already out on managing anxiety, adult ADHD, PTSD, and clinical depression. And these are very, very practical books.
We love practical.
And so you can find them on Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes and Noble, if you've got the Nook. It's available worldwide. Obviously, pretty much everywhere has some type of e-reader. So I I try to give enough explanation so that if you're having these experiences, you can learn and understand what you're going through and why. But it's not a clinical, textbook where it's just going to be all about formulas and theories and blah, blah, blah. Um, and then I go into extremely practical. You can almost use this as a checklist. And a lot of it goes to what you're saying and what we were just talking about in terms of finding what works for you. So there's sections on physical health, on diet, on how to find, knowing and know when and how to find the right therapist. Um, think everything like that that you would need to help you improve and help you to find a better level of peace and stability in your life from one of these conditions.
Love it. Love it. And the last question I have is, what is one piece of wisdom you're still learning to live?
Mm, yeah, that's a good one. One piece of wisdom I'm still learning to live, um, for me is to continue to um, look inwards and not outwards so much. Um, Instead of saying, well, these circumstances or this person is the reason I'm feeling this or experiencing this. Oh, I feel bad because of this or that. Um, it's okay, wait a minute. Yes, this was a bad experience. Yes, this person did or didn't do what I wanted, needed, expected. Okay, I I have to accept that and I can't change them. Uh, Maybe in the big picture I can change these circumstances, but maybe not today. So therefore, how can I help myself? How can I, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to continue feeling bad for myself or continue living in," and it's not denying feelings, it's actually acknowledging them, but I've learned to do it more quickly so
Mm,
that it's like, oh, boom, I see that feeling. Oh, boom, here's here's why, and let's move on. Let's use these tools I've learned, um, and know that I am in control of myself and how I'm going to deal with this instead of just saying I'm the victim of whatever. And again, it's not denying, it's uh, acknowledging and moving on. And back to resilience, or kind of our theme for the show, uh, is the more you practice it, the easier it becomes, and the more effective it becomes, because then you can grow.
yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom, sharing your um, experience and giving advice to anybody listening, because this was a great conversation.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And to all of you listening, if you're an expert with 20 plus years of experience and you want to share your wisdom on the show, you will see in the show notes a place where you can apply for that. We would love to showcase you. And if you want to get on more podcasts or you want to start your own podcast, there will be also notes in how you can do that as well. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.